what do you make of this decision? You and I were just talking about the increased levels of CapEx spending that all of these hyperscalers are embroiled in. What does this mean for Meta?
Yeah, you guys summed it perfectly. Prioritizing the spending of infrastructure over the spending of headcount. And, this has been reported, right? So what you see in the stock might be a little bit of a sell the news kind of reaction. The moment the headlines hit, we were down 2.5%. There was an algo spike pairing those declines, and now we're back down 2.5%. Cuts are effective May 20th. There's an element of accounting here because Meta's going to have to pay those that are eliminated or have their roles eliminated 16 weeks of severance pay effective May 20th. But remember, the political story here is Mark Zuckerberg sitting alongside the president of the United States saying, oh, I shall spend $600 billion in the United States of America to reindustrialize AI infrastructure in this country over a 3-year period. And so that's the sort of political side of the story. But their capital expenditure commitment for the year is size large.
Well, and of course, and Joe alluded to this with the other hyperscalers, it's not only Meta. We're getting news in this regard today. As we know, it was reported earlier that Microsoft is offering buyouts to about 7% of its workers. Is that the exact same story here, Ed, or are there some idiosyncrasies to consider with Meta in particular?
Well, idiosyncrasies in the sense that the way that Microsoft is going about this is offering buyouts to 7% of the workforce. So a different number, but also a different mechanism, trying to make voluntary retirement the modus operandi by which they reduce that headcount longer term. But you're still talking about thousands of employees in the United States. And that reporting, according to a Bloomberg source, Microsoft has 125,000 people. So again, similar level, 8,000 to 9,000 employees. The capital expenditure commitment from Microsoft is also great. And when we talk about that, when we say capital expenditure, it's a financial term. You're talking about an upfront cost commitment to buy the latest generations of chips and build out data center infrastructure to develop or run AI. It basically comes down to being as simple as that. And what has been the story of a longer period of time is investors really cheering that commitment. But as you guys know, Wall Street also likes to have it both ways. And they want to see something give in the opposite direction, some financial discipline. And usually headcount is where you find that, what should we call it, compromise.
What's this mean for morale at a company that's involved in building out the next industrial revolution?
Oh, goodness. Since the Meta story broke, I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone within the company. I would note that I think Reuters reported the Meta cuts were coming, and based on what's now confirmed, pretty accurately. The other way of looking at it is that this is the story of Silicon Valley. When you have a big round of layoffs or voluntary redundancies, retirements, you create a generation of people who have time on their hands and experience. And those people tend to found companies or they invest in other companies. And so that's how I would tend to look at that story. But morale can also be difficult. And in Meta's memo, which came from the chief people officer, obviously it's acknowledged that this is not what people want to be hearing. But I look at the bright side, many people often do.